Ascension symptoms. We haven't spoken about that yet. And I know you're big on Ascension symptoms. How did we
Yeah,
miss this? I don't know.
I know. Well, I was at the park yesterday and I just like, yeah, I just felt it come in. This like, passion needs to be spoken about. And I know that we tried to speak about it a little bit in one
Mhm.
of our Facebook group lives, and we were having audio and video issues and all kinds. And I'm like, I think it's time to revisit that. So,
So let's do it then. Let's jump in. Do you just want to explain a little bit what Ascension symptoms are?
so basically, when you're healing or ascending or moving on your path, you know, there's what the new age or, the groups nowadays are calling ascension symptoms because it's as you raise your frequency as you ascend, which is really as you just grow in awareness. So it's really expanding your consciousness. But as you increase your frequency and ascend, we go through these physical symptoms where our body in the 3D has to release the old ways, the old toxicities, stuff that we've been carrying all of our life or from past lives or karma from our soul. There's these things and there's these shifts that are being made in the healing process, but a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I'm just a victim of this, right? It's just happening to me. And instead of seeing it as a positive, like, you did this. I'm not saying like we do bad things to ourselves, but you are improving. We see it as a step back or
Mhm.
a de-evolution, and that's not the case. So seeing things, for clearly what they are gives you the power back. And I'm really all about, yeah, taking your power back in all situations.
Yeah, this makes me think of that book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's not just a new age. I mean, the lingo might be new age, but the concept itself, I think it is proven that the body keeps score in the sense that it does keep the memories of the emotions, the traumas, the experiences that we have lived. And so, in this way, when you do healing work, it might be different kinds of healing work, but whenever you do so, your body releases that energy, you will feel it, right? It
Mhm.
might be mild, it might be more severe, but we can call it ascension symptoms. But that's just a term, is just to mention that, the body, it does actually in its cells hold on to everything that has happened. And
Mhm.
so then you can also take it a step forward and saying it doesn't just hold to everything that has happened in this lifetime, but also through the DNA, passed on from generations. So then there's, generational trauma that has been passed on. And I don't want to, speak out of terms because I'm not a scientist, but I do recall reading about the fact that these things do get passed on through the DNA, and it is proven. I always try to keep it real and keep it grounded as much as we can in science because I want to speak to everybody in the sense that, some people are very spiritually oriented, some people are very scientifically oriented, and I think this topic, no matter what terms and lingos we used, yeah, it does meet in the middle because it's just part of life and it has been proven on all sides. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So ascension symptoms is basically our awareness in the 3D of the energy moving through, right? Or releasing. So I love how you said, yeah, there's the generational, and it's so scientifically it's like we get 90% of the mitochondria DNA from our mother. So there's still that from the father's side, the mother's side, and the generational, like you just said, there's scientific DNA. It's all encoded in us. Now we can get off to the subject of like what's where I go. I go always to the conscious and unconscious parts, like
Yeah.
of our healing. You know, there are unconscious things in us that need healing or need released. And when we do the work on the spiritual level, that's we're gonna see. So let's get into
Yeah.
it. Let's get into what I mentioned a lot, and I think it's a spectrum belief, all in different areas where as above, so below. as within is without. You know, it's like you manifest things in the higher dimensions, or you're a multidimensional being, and your higher self is orchestrating, right, your life and the blueprint and all this. If you want to give your power away to your higher self, you in the 3D can be aware of your multidimensional selves. You can be aware of what's going on in the other dimensions of reality, or other realms, or the 4 and 5D. You know, everyone talks about raising consciousness and getting into the 4 and 5D. Well, it is a state of mind. It's not a physical place. So as you raise your frequency, you expand your awareness, then you become, you know, more fluent in, I guess, the roadmap of your higher self. So once you are understanding the roadmap of your higher self, then you understand what's happening to you in the 3D. My belief, or what I'm trying to get across, is that everything in the 3D is an illusion. In the fact that the 3D is a mirror image, it is a reflection, and it is the place of cause and effect for what is happening to us in these other dimensions on higher planes of existence. And so as we are all multidimensional and we are all in all of these planes at the same time, when you can step in, say Alex can step in and do meditation and heal energetically, or be aware of what is going on in your body, reading it energetically. Maybe you don't even know it energetically. Maybe you just know that you're in a toxic relationship, or you're in a dynamic at work with coworkers. You know, you just know something's there. You didn't know it was energy, and you get away from it and you clear yourself physically. It's like all of that is the happenings. You're still doing the work, whether you're conscious or unconscious or not. What happens with the Ascension symptoms is the aftermath of it's the cause of what the effect was, the healing, the separation from the toxic relationship, you know, getting away from all that. What you feel is the clearing out of it. And a lot of times we get distracted with the external circumstances. Like I fainted, I got sick, I have a fever, I got in a car accident, I tripped on a shoe,
I fell down the
all of
stairs.
these, I fell down the stairs,
Right.
I got food poisoning. All of these are cause and effects of something that is actually transmuting and alchemizing in the higher dimensions, the spiritual realm. So you know how I go with the hierarchy of healing. Everything happens in the spiritual, trickles down to the mental, which is the conceptual level. Then the emotional, we might be feeling these emotions come up because they need to be released. Then once they get, and then the physical is like, oh, it happened. Ha, okay, it happened. But we get stuck in the prison of the victimization of the ascension symptom, or the happening, if we're not aware that, oh, okay, that's what it is. Yay for me, bravo, I'm moving forward. I cleared some energy. You know, you can look at it like that, or you could look at it like, woe is me.
Yeah. It's such an important thing to be self-aware, right? It brings me to that, because you could take everything. This applies to everything. You can use any example of things that are happening in the 3D, and you just getting caught up in that reality, and not even knowing that there are other things out there. I'm even just thinking about astrology. I'm not a big astrologer, but I did notice that on the days before and after a full moon, I don't sleep well. I have weird dreams that are keeping me up at night. And it's like, huh, I could just be like, oh, well, what's happening with my body? Why can't I sleep? Blah, blah, blah. But recently I was like, oh, it always coincides. So, there's something bigger here. So it's kind of like anything that happens, kind of like you say, try to look for the reason. Think of it as, oh, there's something going on here. What could it be? Be curious instead of being a victim. Like, oh my God, like I used to get a lot of strep, and my throat would hurt a lot. Well, at some point I was like, this has to mean something. And I know that humans are meaning-making machines, right? We always seek meaning. We want to know why. And it's like, it can't just be because that's just how it is. So, there's that too. It's not just like, oh, it's just a flu, right? You can take it as it's just a flu. You can also take it as, why am I getting this flu now?
Mhm.
Why is
Yeah.
this happening again? Why do I have a throat pain again? What does this tell me about my, throat chakra? What can I learn about this? Like, it could be just nothing. It could be just, again, there's a virus going on. I got it. Shit happens. It could be that. It could also just be, I need to look at something.
Say that again, even in the collective, when things like that happen, like COVID or illnesses, or it is again something that has originated in the 4 and 5D. These are originating on higher dimensions, and it is affecting the collective. So again, when there is a collective purging and a collective clearing and a collective healing,
Mhm.
again, it might look like that. But we are getting caught up again, giving our power away to the 3D, the illusionary world, where we do not have control.
Mhm.
We can control
Yeah,
how we respond. We can control how we,
we see it.
perceive the
Right.
events. And that's what I'm getting to, is how your perception can have such a huge effect on your reality.
Yeah. And something that, I'm thinking of too is that, there's this belief that everything happens for a reason. And some people are like, well, no, sometimes stuff just happens. But I think wherever camp you're in, if something happens, there might not be a specific reason, but there could be a purpose. So
Yeah.
look at it that way. Shift your perspective from shit just happens to me all the time
Mhm.
as to, okay, what lesson can I get from here? Maybe there's a purpose that I'm unaware of. I can try to look for the purpose, I can try to find it, or maybe I'll just know in 5 years. you know?
Mhm.
So it's just you have to, I think, and that's what you're getting at too, is that you just have to shift this perspective from always being a victim of circumstances. No matter what happens, like I get food poisoning, oh fucking shit, like blah blah blah. Now you get upset at the restaurant. Now you start getting
Yeah.
upset at, why did I go there? And it's just like
And
you're
that's has nothing to
no.
do with the real, like, again,
Maybe you
you're
have to
wasting
stop
your
eating that.
energy. It,
Yeah. So
it
there's
maybe, and
always
it's not even the food. It's
right.
not. It's something that happened. To figure out what truly happened in the
Mhm.
spiritual is what's going to help give you clarity to that circumstance in the moment,
Right. For
right?
me, I also see it like a message. Like if I keep
Yes.
eating sugar, and every time I eat sugar, I get physically sick. Maybe that's just because I have to stop eating sugar. Maybe that's my body telling me stop doing this. Like, can I make it clear enough,
Listen.
So
Yeah,
it's
listen.
so it's like I feel like there's these two aspects of it. Like, yeah, things could be going on in, other realms, and I totally believe that as we're, multidimensional beings, as you say, and we're everywhere at the same time, I don't know what's happening in other realms through my regular day-to-day consciousness. I might just know that sugar is not good for me. Now, it might also be because in another dimension, this has a purpose or a meaning, or it has something to do with that. I don't know that, but at least I know that in this reality, my body is clearly saying something, and I'm
Mhm.
going to listen to it, right? Because I might not know all the reasons in other dimensions, but I do know this reason today, and that should be good enough.
Yeah, that's true. You don't have to know it all. If you can just understand that, instead of, like you said, being in the victim mind frame, it's switching to the hero mind frame. It's like being the responsible as the creator for your existence.
Right.
And just that shift alone is taking your power back.
Hmm.
It's reviving your energy instead of giving your energy away, or giving your power away again to the what you think is uncontrollable circumstances. When you start to yeah, take responsibility or just be like, okay, I know it's for a reason. I don't know what it is, but I know it is for something. It's just the beginning process of taking your power back and then realizing that you do have the ability to shift your reality. It's a powerful, pivotal place to be. It's a moment of opportunity. Like we were given moments
Yeah.
of opportunity every moment in life.
Totally agree with that. I think it's so, gosh, it's like so important to know that
It,
instead of, and I used to go through life with just like, this is it. Here I go, take my
Mhm,
train to go to work. Here I am at
mhm.
work. This sucks. Here I go back home, making dinner, going to bed. Like I used to just go through life as just like this sort of monotone, 3D kind of, there is no purpose. This kind of sucks. But just to know that at every single moment, like you say, you have the ability to change your perspective, to change your reality, your timeline, whatever. It could be the smallest shift, it's not like everybody has to go quit their job, like I said before,
Yeah,
and like live in the mountains. But
yeah.
you can decide to be appreciative of your circumstances or,
Mhm.
see things just differently from a higher vibration. I like one of the things that I have adopted for myself was asking myself, what would Jesus do? Like, if I'm
Yeah.
not sure, I'm like, what would he think or do? Right. And I feel like that points us to the right direction
Yeah.
kind of most of the time, if not always, right? Because it's just that inner compass. It's that inner knowing of doing the right thing, being in line with my values, my morals. And so if I spend my day being angry at my circumstances, Jesus would not do that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
Right.
kind of like, okay, how can I shift my energy? How can I shift my perspective? And it goes with the ascension symptoms too. If I'm sick again or I have a headache for no apparent reason,
Mhm.
what should I do? Should I just sit here and get
Wallow.
annoyed? Yeah,
Yeah.
right? But it's this sort of mood that people are stuck in often. Is
Mhm.
just
The
like,
energy,
oh, yeah,
the
this low
disempowerment.
vibration. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just the energy. So I like that you mentioned what would Jesus do? Because I want to share the energetics of it.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately when and you could do this with anything, any higher power, higher energy that you feel connected, the divinity. Um, But in the moment when you are feeling like a victim, this is a great practice. That's how you immediately shift your energy or vibration because you're tuning into something that you believe is a higher frequency. So you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
shake the Alex mind or the conditioned
Yeah.
mind. Oh, I like how you mentioned we're so conditioned to be like subservient to, this is just how it is. This was what happens. This is normal. No,
Mm-hmm.
everything is a message. Everything is a gift. Everything's an opportunity. Everything's a sign. And you're the architect. So until you take responsibility as the architect, then you will not understand. And when you do start to understand, right, then you from the
Mm-hmm.
higher dimensions, you see the truth, and then the truth shall set you free. Okay, I got on the side rant, but I really like how so just the idea of saying, what would Jesus do?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Just like I said, imagine a pink elephant. What do?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
pink elephant. You instantly connect with that on a vibrational level. So the minute you're like, what would Jesus do? You're connecting to that vibration of Christ consciousness.
Right.
Once you tune into the Christ consciousness, then you're thinking like the Christ consciousness, and you then are making a decision based on what would Jesus do? What would
Mm-hmm.
you do when you're in that frequency is totally different than what you would
Right.
do in a degrading, demolishing victimhood frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even that is a wonderful tool, Alex, is just shifting like you did.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone find your higher power. It could even be your higher self, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's what you
That's
do.
it. That's it.
That's how you shift into the
Yeah.
5D.
I
You're the
align and I
mother.
resonate so much with
Yeah.
the teachings of love, kindness, and all of those, that it's for me is kind of like the North Star of integrity. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's just what I go to. It's just the easy. one for me, kind of, it's
Yes.
like it's just easy. So I know exactly if I'm talking about that or Christ consciousness, I know exactly the values that are underlying it. And so those are the ones I want to align myself with. So it's just easy for
Yeah.
me, but it could be any, anything or anybody.
That's what I really wanted to get through was how we shift our perspective into higher states and how we don't give our power to the 3D illusionary matrix world. Yes, we're here. We are not, I don't want to say dealing, right? But we are
Mhm.
here like playing the game that we've already set up.
Right.
We already had strategized our blueprints, in the heavens or before we incarnated is what I believe. But we're just we place our awareness here in this beautiful physical avatar so that we can just watch the story unfold.
Mm-hmm.
But as as these higher beings that we are, and we come here and we get to watch and we view it from the front seat of the
Right.
concert, we also get distracted by the concert. We're like, we start to believe that this
Oh
is
yeah,
all
you're
that.
enmeshed with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we integrate with this avatar and we do start to believe that this reality is the source, and it's not the source, it's the byproduct. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? The
Yeah.
source in the expanded awareness or higher frequencies is where the magic happens.
I love your analogy of the concert. I can so relate to that. We used to go to a lot of concerts before the kids were born. And you know that feeling of being in the crowd
Immerse.
and you're completely immersed. It's like in that moment, everybody sings together. It's just there's nothing else that exists in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's just your reality. And so I love that analogy. It's the same. You come here, you're like, nothing else exists. Like this is
Yeah, we're
it,
just
right?
in it, but
This
we
is
want
it.
it to be in it.
Right. We bought the tickets, guys.
We bought the ticket. We just, yeah, we get so distracted then with the outer, and
But
then we create our own reality here, and there's so many filters and illusions, and then yeah, then we get in our own way. And that's part of the ego mind, which is in part of the physical avatar that we accepted to come in to get the front row seat. But we have
Mhm.
to manage the ego mind. We have to manage it so we can see reality with the truth and clarity that it is.
Mhm.
Have to
Yeah.
master that balance first so that we're in the concert, but not
Yeah.
of the concert.
Yeah.
We're in it, but not of it.
And it's kind of like if you're part of a game. So it's kind of like we do it on purpose to make the game extra hard because otherwise it would be just too easy, right? You would just
It
come
wouldn't
here,
be
you
fun.
already know everything. It's like at the end. Okay, no, this was boring. So let's
Yeah.
make it hard on ourselves, right? Let's put extra stuff that we don't need and see how that goes. But let's talk a little bit about free will. I feel like we're sort of
Oh,
touching
yeah.
touching the subject a little bit. Do you
Yeah.
believe we as humans here on Earth have free will?
So that's it's perfect that you mentioned that because it comes into the subject where yes and no. Like I feel it's both. I feel that we have free will as our higher self has written the blueprint. We have free will as we've decided the pivotal points and the moments and okay, I have a great example for this.
Mhm.
Imagine you are a producer and you're writing a movie and you've picked out the characters, you've picked out the circumstances, the plot, the beginning, the what is it? When there's
Oh
you've
yeah, I know what you mean.
the enemy, but you've picked the thing that you have to fight against.
Mm-hmm,
There's a
mm-hmm.
word for it
Like
in
the
like
mission, or I don't know the name in
yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm,
the contrast. You pick that and you pick the happy ending, right?
mm-hmm,
You got it all laid out. And then you're like, okay, but now I'm going to be the actor and I'm going to jump in the avatar and I'm going to experience this movie that I wrote.
mm-hmm,
Now, a lot of times in movies, you find people are going off script and it becomes the most beautiful part of the movie, right? The
mm-hmm,
blooper or the things that were unwritten. And it's like in the higher dimension, time and space does not exist. So it doesn't matter if it takes your soul one lifetime or 10 lifetimes, the movie will still happen. The ascension will still happen. Your evolution will still happen. So you understand, like, the higher self has no pressure on you to get this done. So you can come here and you can bypass yourself. You can create your own obstacles. You can do it the hard way. You can, it doesn't matter what path you pick. Your soul has picked the circumstances that will bring you back full circle eventually. So there's no worries. There's no, it's okay.
Right.
But you have the free will when you're here to say yes or no to your own life's plan. You have free will to make it take longer. You have free will to take a detour. You have free will to create new bonds or contracts or delete contracts and bonds. So we do, but we don't. Does that make sense? It's like,
yeah, you're saying it was preordained. Even, well, are you saying that, say my life purpose, my soul decided that I would be a teacher, let's just say, and I come here and I hate school, and I'm not going to do that. I become a construction worker. All right. So did my soul actually decide that it would actually become a construction worker? Or is that the ego that decided that, right? This is where
could
people
be.
really get in heated debates about it, because it's like, who actually decided this? Your human avatar? Or was it actually pre-decided but kind of like sneakily? What do you think?
So again, if the 3D is an illusion, the teacher is an illusion, and the construction worker is the illusion. The energy that your higher self wanted was to teach something or an essence.
Okay.
You can provide that essence, whether you're a teacher or construction worker. So you know what I'm saying? So
I see.
essence, but at the same time, if you were not able to provide the essence as a construction worker, yeah, your ego might have detoured you. You still were not able to break through the barriers that you had come in with generational karma,
Right.
conditioning, and you just took the easy route as a construction worker or whatever it may be.
Right, right.
You then, guess what? You die, you didn't accomplish your mission. Okay, next lifetime, you're going to do the same. I'm going to be a
Right,
teacher.
right. You're
I'm
gonna
going to
do it
be a
again.
teacher. This time, I'm going to learn from the lesson what defeated me. And you're going to place people and objects and circumstances in your life that will help bring that out, to help clear. And that's why people trigger us, or we have, we have these contracts with souls that are deliberately there to push our buttons, to heal, to help us see. And that's why shadow work is so important, because then you can identify them, clear them, and that way you can live your purpose as the teacher. If the movie was created, the higher self doesn't care if it takes 1 lifetime or 10 lifetimes, but great if it took 1 lifetime. Great if you mastered it in the first try. How many of us went through tests in high school where we had to give it another try to pass? Now, did we pass the grade? Eventually, right? And
Right, right, yeah.
maybe some of us passed it the first time, or maybe some of us got an A+ the first time. Not everyone does, but does that make them less worthy or valuable than you because you got it the first time? Maybe you hit a roadblock in 10th grade where then you have trouble passing, and then they had trouble in kindergarten, but they've matched you in 10th and now they surpass. And it's like, it's all just where we are, what level we're in. And so again, that's where the compassion, self-love, and that for understanding and unconditional exception for others, because everyone's really on their own level, on their own path, on their own blueprint. But we can help ourselves and we can help them. It might make it a little easier for everyone, rather than everyone not helping and fighting, and
Yeah, because when you are in that higher vibration, you're in tune to each other more. And so in that way you can give people what they need on a soul level, not on a physical level, but I'm talking about soul level. And you can really assist each other in your respective missions in that way.
Absolutely. And you brought up a point. It was known that, like, Jesus was able to talk to people's higher selves. It's in the Bible, because that's how he was able, remember, I don't know. So there's stories where he would go to people that needed healing,
Mhm.
and sometimes he would deny them healing. He wouldn't heal them because their higher self didn't want them to be healed. It was part of their lesson.
Mhm.
And so he was not invasive of like, I'm the shit. Ding, 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 ding. You know, you're all healed. He was
Yeah.
actually serving people's higher selves. And when their higher selves was ready, they appeared. Just like when the student is ready, the teacher
Mhm.
appears. The teacher is ready, the student appears. So their higher selves were in communication. And on the higher self level, there were agreements. And when you can see from that perspective, that expanded consciousness or higher dimension frequencies, you can read other people's higher selves. You know exactly what the bargain is, your relationship with others,
Mhm.
what the lesson is, and therefore you can move through it a lot quicker and easier without the obstacles and limitations and the victimhoods, right? Because you
Mhm.
can see.
Oh yeah.
So I
And the
love that
victim
you
masks,
mentioned
right?
that. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not serving the ego and you're not serving people's lower self. You're serving
Mhm.
people's higher self,
Yeah.
which is the true mission. Because if you're really here and you can help a higher self, guess what? Your frequency, your
Mhm.
points are going to go up in the other dimensions, and they're going to start helping your avatar in the 3D because your 3D avatar is helping
Mhm.
other souls awaken and align. So that's, I don't want to say like that's why people are rich or that's what, but ultimately in the other dimensions, they're giving a service to
Mhm.
someone's higher self and not their lower self. That I had a problem with for a long time of my life as I was conditioned and taught, you know, to just not step on people's toes. You know, I didn't want to get attacked. I was afraid of what people thought, you know, that those diminishing things and beliefs. I was like really serving people's ego. I was really serving people's lower self
Mhm.
because I was like, don't want to trigger them. Because as a kid, I learned that, you know, I would get abused or reprimanded or denied. You know, we get that reward and punishment
Mhm.
conditioning as a child. So we learn those. And so we learn to really serve people's lower selves in the
Oh yeah.
3D. We really are trained and conditioned to feed each other's egos. And is
Mhm.
that the greater good? No. So stepping away from that is a huge step again to
Yeah.
owning your path and understanding the truth and seeing the light and or you know, is stepping away from
Ascending. It's
yeah,
really, it's a step, yeah, toward ascending. And also it makes life just so much easier. Oh God. And
it
you have
does.
certain
But we
people that
don't
we don't
we
think
think
about,
it
well, because we're
yeah.
not used to, right? But it's kind of like when you have certain people in your life that deeply trigger you,
Mhm.
that's ego to ego.
Yeah.
This is what I see. When you actually take a step back or higher, right? And you look at them from that higher perspective of their soul and their ego and see it for what it is. And you see that these people are deeply hurt,
Mhm.
right? And troubled. And their higher self is just like, this is just
Yeah.
kind of their circumstance and they can't see it. And they're trapped in their ego. I think for me, it brings so much compassion for them. And
Mhm.
so instead of going into the relationship and being like, oh my God, like brace
Like,
yourself for impact. It's gonna be a shit
yeah.
show again. And more like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever you
Like,
say, I know it comes from your ego. I know it comes from there, that hurt part of you. I'm not even gonna engage. I'm just gonna
yeah.
like stand back and I'm sending you love, because at the end of the day, that will help me and that will help you. So I think that's part of the awakening and the ascension that is happening you know, on this planet right now. People are starting to realize that and seeing each other as their higher selves. I think that is essential. If we want to move forward in peace and love, we have to do this. No more ego to ego. It leads to what? Fighting, violence, fear.
Uh-huh.
This is like so
Nothing good ever comes of it.
over. No, right? We're
And
over
it's
it. So,
it's it's kindergarten play in the playground. Like
right.
that's non-beneficial. Well, first of all, I got an image, but then I got the quote where it's like, "Ye who has not sinned, cast the
Mm-hmm,
first stone."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's like, or it's like when you're mature enough on a spiritual level to see the truth of what's going on, you can't just walk away. And then you stop playing that game where it's, yeah, attack, attack, attack. Someone has to step away, right? And then the energy then they heal. Then the other person can heal or learn the lesson, because you're not playing the role that their lower self or their ego has pinned on you to play in their game of illusion to keep them unconscious or unawakened. So really, others awake is by not serving, not feeding their ego, and stepping away and just being yourself, being that higher self, or like you say, reading the situation and knowing then what they need, what you are there for, really serving the higher purpose. So basically, ascension symptoms are cause and effect. It's the aftermath of what your soul is doing. And instead of not understanding, it's just so much easier to understand. And then you can move with purposeful action in your life. That's ultimately, I think, what everybody wants.